15 years ago, my ex and ex-BFF had a baby behind my back. My family knew and hid it. I cut them off. Now my mom wants me to forgive them. Back when I was 18, I was in my final year of high school. I thought things were going pretty well. I lived at home with my parents and my 4 siblings, 2 older brothers, a younger sister, and a sister around my age. Most of my time was spent with Ashley, my closest friend since childhood, and Kyle, the guy I had been dating for 3 years. We grew up in the same town, and our families were close. My parents were best friends with both Ashley's and Kyle's parents. It felt like we were all one big family. Ashley had been part of my life since before I could remember. We were inseparable. People used to joke that we were joined at the hip. I trusted her completely. And Kyle, well, I thought I was going to marry him. We had even started talking about a future together after he finished college. At that point, he was in his 2nd year. Even though I planned to go to college myself, I was also looking forward to settling down with Kyle and maybe becoming a stay-at-home mom. My parents loved him. They supported us. Everything seemed perfect. I should mention, my sister was also dating Kyle's brother, so all of us were deeply connected. Then came the beginning of that school year. I noticed something was off with Ashley. She was acting distant and looked down all the time. After pushing her for a while, she finally confessed she was pregnant. I was stunned. She had broken up with her boyfriend months ago, and far as I knew, there was no one else. When I asked who the father was, she avoided the question, hinting it might have been her ex. She was clearly overwhelmed, so I dropped it and did my best to comfort her. I stood by her when she told her family. They were disappointed but said they would support her. They asked who the father was, but she refused to tell them. She also made me swear I would not bring it up again. None of them knew she had even been seeing anyone. From that point on, I was there for her. I went with her to appointments, sat with her through bullying at school, helped put together a nursery, even threw her a baby shower. We picked out names together. She even asked me to be there in the delivery room. She looked exhausted all the time, mentally and physically. I tried to carry as much weight as I could, because she was my best friend and I loved her. About 2 weeks before her due date, I ran into her ex-boyfriend while running errands at the mall. I had promised Ashley I would never contact him, but thinking about how she was doing, I snapped. I told him off right there, called him out for abandoning someone who was pregnant with his child. But instead of reacting how I expected, he looked completely confused. He said he had no idea she was even pregnant. When I told him she was 9 months along, he said that was impossible, he had not been with her in over a year. That shook me up. I apologized and backed off. But before he walked away, he said something that stuck with me. He told me I should ask Kyle if he was the father. At the time, it sounded like nonsense. Kyle and Ashley were childhood friends, just like the rest of us. I never once saw anything weird between them. That night, my youngest sister and I were planning a movie night. I started ranting to her about the conversation I had at the mall. Usually, she had plenty to say, but this time she got quiet. Eventually, she excused herself and went to the bathroom. While she was gone, I went downstairs to grab some snacks. That is when I overheard her talking to my mom. She was yelling, saying she could not lie to me anymore. That Kyle was the father of Ashley's baby. I walked in and demanded to know what was going on. They both went pale. My sister started crying hard. Then the truth came out. Kyle and Ashley had gone to a party near the end of summer, got drunk, and ended up sleeping together. When Ashley found out she was pregnant, she told Kyle. They both panicked. They were ashamed. Instead of coming clean, they stayed quiet. Ashley did tell her parents eventually. Her folks then told Kyle's parents, who passed the information on to mine. All of that happened during her first trimester. By the time she was halfway through the pregnancy, all our siblings knew. Everyone except me. I cannot describe what that felt like. My whole body went numb. I could not eat, could not talk. I just stayed in my room for days. My parents came in and apologized. They said they were only trying to protect me, to keep the family from falling apart. I did not care. Kyle and Ashley tried calling. They texted. They even came to the house. I ignored all of it. Then Kyle's mom came over. My mom let her into my room while I was still in bed. She started talking about forgiveness, saying Ashley and the baby needed me. I stared at the wall and said nothing. 2 weeks later, Ashley went into labor. My parents told me she had a rough time. She lost a lot of blood and needed an emergency operation. Kyle was with her. I should have been there too. That was the plan. We had talked about it for months. But I could not even bring myself to move. I was crushed. My older sister rushed to the hospital to be with her boyfriend. The rest of the house was quiet. I just wanted my mom to stay with me, to sit with me while I cried. But then Ashley's mother called. My mom told me she and dad were going to the hospital. I asked her to stay. She said Ashley's parents needed support, and we could talk later. When I told her I needed support too, she told me not to be selfish and left. After they walked out, I sat in that house completely lost. I had no idea what to do or how to feel. My sadness started to shift into anger. I had never felt anything like it. I packed a bag and made up my mind to leave. But I could not go through with it right away. I sat in the living room for a while, just staring into space. That is when I got a message from my sister. Ashley had given birth to a healthy baby girl. They named her Sarah, the same name Ashley and I had picked out months ago. Then I got another text saying the family was going out to celebrate with Kyle's parents. Everything just hit me all at once. I blacked out, emotionally. I do not remember much after that. I took a train and left town. I ended up in Phoenix, staying at a cheap hostel. I got a job working at a store and decided to finish high school out there. My phone filled up with missed calls and voicemails. My mom begged me to come home. They even reported me as missing. But I was 18, so nothing came of it. A little while later, I met Dean. He was 21, living in Phoenix too. He had his own family issues, and we bonded over that. He helped me a lot. I did not know how to handle adult life. He brought me into his friend group and helped me finish school. Eventually, I moved in with him and some of his friends. He gave me a place to start again. At one point, I hit a really low spot. I thought about seeing a therapist, but there was no way I could afford it. Dean stuck with me through all of it. He never turned his back on me. We started dating after a year. Not long after that, Dean got a small inheritance from his grandfather. He wanted to move across the country and start fresh. Even though we were not together that long, he asked me to come with him. I was nervous. We both had our issues. I was still full of doubt, but I said yes. We moved, got jobs, started over. A little after my 21st birthday, we got married. It was sudden, kind of wild, but it felt right. I signed up for college, and Dean helped pay my tuition. He started a business, and it actually took off. We were able to live comfortably. I worked part-time while going to school. We had tough times, but we got through them. After graduation, I started working with Dean. We built the company up together. Looking back, I do not think I loved Dean in the romantic way when we got married. I cared about him deeply, but I was not in love. Over time, that changed. Today, I love him more than I ever thought possible. He is my partner. We have been married 12 years. We have 2 boys, one is 2 years old, the other just 6 months. There were moments I thought about going back to my family. But every time I did, I remembered the way they treated me. I felt like they chose Ashley and Kyle over me. And I could not forget that. Dean and I started seeing each other about a year after we first met. When he received a small inheritance from his grandfather, he decided it was time to leave Phoenix and try building a new life in a big city across the country. We had not been together all that long, but he asked if I would come with him. I was hesitant at first. We both carried a lot of emotional scars, and I still felt like I was barely holding my own life together. But in the end, I said yes. We moved, found jobs, and did our best to make ends meet. Not long after I turned 21, we made a spontaneous decision to get married. It was a bit of a whirlwind, but it felt like the right thing to do. I enrolled in college soon after, and Dean covered the tuition while also starting his own business. It did better than either of us expected. We were not wealthy, but we were secure. I worked part-time while studying, and once I graduated, I joined Dean's company. Together, we grew it into something real. Looking back, I do not think I was truly in love with Dean when we tied the knot. I loved him, sure, but I had not fallen for him the way you do in the movies. But over time, through everything we faced, I came to love him more deeply than I thought possible. He is my person. We have now been married for 12 years, and we have 2 sons, one is 2 years old and the other just a baby. There are days when I think about the family I left behind. It still hurts sometimes. I felt like they chose Ashley and Kyle over me, and that pain never fully went away. I started therapy at 25, trying to work through all the things I had pushed down. It helped, but some wounds do not heal all the way. Then, last year, just as the pandemic was starting, I got an email from a teenage girl named Evelyn. She said she was my niece, my older sister's daughter with Kyle's brother. She had heard about me and wanted to talk. I was unsure at first, but I agreed to exchange a few messages. She had no idea what had happened 15 years ago, so we kept things light. She talked about her school, her hobbies, and shared updates about the family. I found out I had 10 nieces and nephews. She also mentioned that Kyle had married Ashley 4 years after I left and that they now had 2 sons in addition to Sarah. My parents had remained close with both of their families. To Evelyn, it probably seemed like life had just gone on as normal. I did not tell her the truth. I just said that sometimes people grow apart and take different paths. Over the next several months, we kept in touch here and there. In January, she wrote again and told me the pandemic had been hard on her family. My parents were struggling to keep their home, and both of my brothers had lost their jobs. She said the stress was starting to cause problems in her own household. Reading that hit me in the gut. She was only 14, but she seemed to carry a heavy awareness of everything around her. I had just given birth to my second son, and I was already riding an emotional wave. I spoke to Dean about it, and he told me he would support whatever I decided. We were doing okay financially. The pandemic had not hit us too hard. We were not rich by any means, but we were stable. After some thought, Dean and I decided to help my parents out with their house. We flew back to my home state, and for the first time in 15 years, I saw my family again. The day was overwhelming. There were so many emotions, memories, and unspoken words hanging in the air. My mom seemed relieved to see me. We talked for a long time and agreed to try building a relationship again, something civil, even if distant. Dean and I spent a week there. It was strange. I felt like I was visiting people I barely knew. Still, I hoped we were heading in the right direction. But things took a turn when my mother insisted I sit down and talk with Kyle and Ashley. She wanted things to go back to how they used to be. I told her that was not going to happen. I had no desire to dig up that part of my past. I told her clearly, I would try to reconnect with my siblings and stay in touch for Evelyn's sake, but I did not want anything to do with Kyle or Ashley. Dean stood by me, just like always. But my mom called me selfish. She said I had to try and fix what was broken. I told her the choice was hers, either have me in her life, or keep trying to force something I had no interest in. She backed off, at least for a moment. 2 days later, I got a call from Kyle's mother. I had not given her my number, but clearly my mom had. She told me that my return was upsetting Kyle and Ashley, and that I needed to speak with them for the good of the family. I hung up. I called my mother right after and told her she had crossed a line. She started crying and shouting about how I was tearing the family apart. I hung up again. It has been several days since I last spoke with any of them. My mom and Kyle's mother keep calling. I believe I am doing what is right for myself, for Dean, and for our kids. Dean even confronted my mom and told her to stop. But still, I cannot help but question everything. Was I overreacting all those years ago? Am I being too stubborn now? Sometimes I wonder if I should just talk to Ashley and Kyle and see what they have to say. But then I think about everything I went through, and I just do not know. 2 years have passed since I first shared this story. A lot has changed. My youngest sister, the one who was a teenager back then, had her own falling out with our parents and cut contact when she turned 20. We recently reconnected. It was awkward at first, it had been so long, but we started talking. She has 2 kids now, and those little ones helped us bond again. Today, she is my closest friend. We speak almost every day. I talk to my brothers sometimes, though we are not especially close. My older sister and I had a rough patch last year, mostly because she is married to Kyle's brother. It was hard for her to stay neutral. But we have found some middle ground. I am also close with some of my nieces and nephews. I did not go to my niece's birthday party. It still felt too raw. But I am trying. As for my parents, things got worse before they got better. My mother would not stop pushing me to speak with Kyle and Ashley. Her calls became constant. She guilted me over everything, her stress, her health, even her friendships. She said I was keeping her grandchildren away. It was overwhelming. Then I had my daughter, and something snapped. My mom started calling dozens of times a day. She sent message after message, even bothering Dean with her demands. That was my breaking point. I was too scared to block her, so I called my father instead. We had a real, honest talk, our first in nearly 2 decades. I poured everything out. I do not know what he said to my mother after that, but her calls started slowing down. Then, in August, he filed for divorce. Now, my father and I speak regularly. It is not perfect, but it is something. My mother, on the other hand, lost her grip. Her calls got worse before I finally changed my number. From what I hear, she is struggling with her mental health and has lost many friends. I do not know if she is still close with Ashley and Kyle's families, and I do not care. I want nothing to do with her. She said things about me and Dean that were cruel and unfair. I cannot forgive that. I do wish I had a mother, but I do not think there is anything left to salvage. As for Ashley and Kyle, I have heard nothing from them. The only thing that happened was Kyle's brother bringing me a letter from Ashley. I have not opened it. Part of me wants to know what she wrote. But another part of me knows that reading it could dig up a lot of pain I worked hard to bury. I am doing better now. Dean is my rock, and our kids bring light into my life every day. I am trying to stay focused on the family I built, not the one I lost. To anyone who has reached out or offered support, thank you. It means more than you know. If there are more updates, I will try not to wait so long to share them.